Kong Skull Island is next in our Monster Universe mashup. Now there's two ways, that's four. There's two ways to look at this movie. You can look at it as a totally bonkers, ridiculous, 80s style fun, CG, lots of explosions movie, and you have a good time with it. Or you can look at it as, is this a good movie? And unfortunately, as the reviewer and the critic here, I'm gonna have to do the second option. The premise of this movie is it's set just after the Vietnam War. Some researchers want to go to this island because they believe there's something there. It's completely unexplored, supposedly, but they need an escort there. So some people that have just finished the Vietnam War, they're like, all right, we'll take them over. Why not? This squadron is being led by Samuel L. Jackson. The scientific team is being led by John Goodman, and you got a host of familiar faces chucked in. It really is the definition of an all-star cast. I kind of lost count. I think there's about 9 or 10 people that I knew in this movie that I thought, you know, any one of them really could have had a leading role in this. And that's a problem, I'm afraid, because there is an overload of actors here. And the problem is, because they're all familiar faces, none of them are expendable, especially not early on. So you've got this very tricky balancing act of all these great actors and trying to pick and choose who you give the most screen time to. And they decided that to be Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson, which is not who I would have chosen to make the focus of this movie. I thought they were good, right? But out of the whole cast, there's only two people you should be giving a significant amount of screen time to. And that is Samuel L. Jackson and John Goodman. You know, did the production team in charge not realise that they've got two of the greatest actors right here? Exceptional actors. Aging actors, you know, they're not going to be around forever. Tom Hiddleston and Brie Larson are. When you've got John Goodman and Samuel L. Jackson in your movie, use them. But no, they were both very expendable in the end and died. Another strange element of this movie was the camera techniques and the editing and the camera work. It was very strange. It was like someone was editing for the first time and they were just having a whale of a time trying all these different techniques, and the cameraman was new, so he was just trying all of his new techniques. It just felt very strange, a bit over the top, a bit weird. It didn't feel professional. So those are the moments that took me out of the movie a bit. But when I said that it was kind of like an 80s movie, this is what I mean. Just all this crazy stuff going on with the camera work and the editing. And I think the third issue here is the story itself. It is trying extremely hard to be a setup movie rather than its own movie. It's just trying to connect to everything else. My problem with this is it seems like there's this philosophy where if you're trying to make a film and you want to set up future films, you have to sacrifice the quality of the film you're making, which just isn't the case. You just need to make the setup a secondary objective, and the primary one needs to be to tell your story, to have engaging characters, to have an engaging story. We've seen it too many times, especially in the more recent DCEU stuff, where they're so focused on setting up future movies that you lose a whole lot of quality in the movie you're watching. MCU, on the other hand, are the ones doing it right. They really bided their time to set up Thanos. They were not trying to get him in straight away. You think we didn't actually get Thanos as a primary character until we got to Infinity War. We got little snippets of him beforehand, but we never got anything concrete. They bided their time and they told good stories in the meantime. There's not a whole lot of bad MCU movies out there. Some of them kind of suck, but for the most part, they're solid. And even though every single one of those Marvel movies is actually setting up future stuff, it does it very well by not sacrificing the story. Kong Skull Island, I felt, did that. There was a lot of mention of other beings out there and other monsters and, you know, Godzilla teases. Tell your story about Kong. We know it's in the same universe, and then have a little teaser at the end or something to do with Godzilla, like a post-credit scene. And in fact, they did have a post-credit scene, and what they did was show every single monster that's going to be in the following movie. You compare this to the King Kong movie from, I believe it was 2005, and you kind of had your three main characters in that film, and the fact that you had three characters, the primary characters, you had a lot of other people in that movie, of course, but they weren't like really renowned actors or like people that required a lot of screen time. Therefore, you could focus a lot of time on our three main characters. You can actually sort of gauge a bit of a connection with them and root for them and feel for them. In Kong Skull Island, I really didn't care who died or who lived all that much. Some people I liked and thought that'd be nice if they made it, but I didn't really care, to be honest. I'm sure a lot of people that seen this movie thought, this is kind of harsh. It was a good movie. Listen, I actually did enjoy parts of this movie. I thought the monsters, looked great. Kong looked really cool. The skull things that come out of the ground, the fights were really cool with them. They were actually terrifying. Which is where, of course, you can look at it from the other perspective. An 80s style action-packed movie. It's a perfect popcorn movie. I think that's the way to put it. But I just feel like with this, they sacrificed the chance to actually make a really good movie and build on from Godzilla and do things better. You know, you think with Godzilla, they didn't even have as big an all-star cast as they did in this movie. And in that movie, they killed off the best actor after about 45 minutes. They killed off Bryan Cranston. In this movie, they killed off John Goodman pretty early as well. And John Goodman did not get nearly enough screen time in the time he was in this movie, however long that was, an hour, hour 20. I just think this movie would have been better if you'd had less of an all-star cast. Make it John Goodman, Samuel L. Jackson, and I don't know, pick someone else out of the bunch, pick and mix. Keep it smaller, tell a more personal story, and I think you would have had a better overall movie. This isn't a bad movie, but I actually don't think it's better than Godzilla. I think Godzilla flowed better, I think it looks somewhat better, I think the monsters were better in that movie, and I thought the characters were better in that movie. Kong for me is just not quite there, and I think it actually took a step back, and it's made the same mistakes that franchises like the DCEU have made in trying to be so focused on setting up something else. It's like, we're not stupid as viewers, okay? You don't need to put it right in our face what's going on here. We can piece stuff together. From what I've heard, the next movie isn't any better, so that should be a blast as well. Kong Skull Island, I would give this a 6 out of 10. I'll see you in Godzilla King of the Monsters. Wish me luck.